Right, welcome back to the Young Fan Podcast and welcome to another League One fan call-in. Really exciting times. I thoroughly enjoyed making this, chatting to fans about the season so far, the January transfer window that's just come to a close, and of course as well the aspirations and expectations as we now hit the run-in of this campaign. Lots of talking points specific to the clubs as well. Thank you so much to everybody that got involved. You can get involved in the future as well by joining the Discord server that's free to join with the link in the description. So many talking points, so much to get on with. Let's do that now. Thank you so much to everybody that got involved. Let's play the first clip and the first chat with a League One supporter. Sorry to interrupt and to jump in here. However, I need your help once again. I want to ask 24 League One fans for their brutal and honest League One prediction when it comes to their club's final position. If you would like to get involved, make sure you join the Discord server. Once again, the link in the description. Show that you're looking to do that by just saying, I'm here because I want to get involved with this exciting new concept that, yes, wasn't fully mine. James Lawrence Alcott did do this for the Premier League only a couple of weeks ago, but I think this could be really, really fascinating. Make sure you join by hitting that link in the description right now. Anyway, on with the video. So I'm joined with Connor, who is a Derby County fan. Connor, thank you so much for jumping in and doing this fan call-in. I believe this is your first fan call-in. Is that right?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, really interesting. I don't think we've actually had a Derby County fan on these call-ins before, so it's really good to have a Ram perspective, if you like. How have you made Derby County season so far? Because in these call-ins, we'll sort of be looking at the transfer window, reflecting a little bit on the first half of the season, and most importantly as well, looking forward to what we expect to be, in your case, maybe a promotion-pushing second half of the campaign. How have you made the first 20-odd games of the season? I think you should be fairly pleased with it.
It's been probably remarkable. I think I probably was on more of the optimistic side of Derby fans at the start of the season, given that I thought we'd at least finish in the playoffs. I think the overall perspective, I think obviously you always have a few that do the HMS Piss for League stuff, but I think that in reality, I think most of our fans thought we'd probably be in mid-table. Obviously, you have to realise the situation we was in last season and the situation we was in the summer on the 1st of July when David Clowes took over the football club. We only had 5 players contracted. And obviously, that was only 29 days before our opening day of the season, of course, against Oxford. So the turnaround's been remarkable. Obviously, it took a while to gel the squad together, but overall, yeah, I'm really pleased. We've hit some really good form lately. We're 15 unbeaten in the league, 6 wins on the bounce, and I'm very pleased.
Yeah, you do sound pleased. What about Paul Warne then? Because I think he's somebody who came in, took over from Liam Rosner, by the way, and I think he actually is somebody who has come in now. I think we're now seeing a much more, structured Derby County side. I think that's fair to say. I think we're getting to see the best now of Derby County with the best players in the system that Paul Warne wants to play. What have you made of him since he's come in? Because really, since he has come through the door, things have improved and got better and better every single week.
Paul Warne's been a revelation. I think that most fans around here regard him as probably the best manager in the league. I know that some people would have something to say about that, but of course he's got the reputation to back that up with his 3 promotions and with his Papa John's Trophy win last season with Rotherham, as well as his promotion. But I think just taking it back to Rossini really is that we all regard what he did with the club with great regard. Most of us were very sad when he left, when he got released and sacked. He was only ever an interim manager. Of course, he was Wayne Rooney's assistant. He's built this squad, all credit to Rossini where that is. But I think his style of football is clearly working in the Championship at Hull. It wasn't working here. It wasn't inspiring here. It may well have worked. Obviously, we had to get people to gel. But I think Warne's style is just, it's worked so well in League One before and it's working so well now. He demands so much of players, demands so much hard work, but our players are up to the task. And obviously, we've got a lot of players all over the pitch with very high quality to match really what he expects. So it's working.
I think you're right. I think what we've seen now is a lift with these players. These players now are exactly doing what I think the ability does suggest they do have. They've got some really, really good players in the squad with great ability. And now we're starting to see them work in a system in a great way, score a really good amount of goals, especially in recent weeks. And most importantly, grind out results. 5 against Morecambe isn't something that a lot of teams will do because Morecambe especially as well, an informed Morecambe side, that wasn't easy. I want to touch on the January transfer window a little bit. Not massively busy, but Harvey White came through the door. Harvey White, somebody who has had a spell in League One before, Portsmouth, I believe he was before. I'm not sure if he had another loan move in between that and staying at Tottenham.
No, he was playing in Tottenham's academy for the last 18 months.
Yeah, I don't think I think you're right. Yeah, no other loan move since that Pompey one a couple of years ago. But he's now joined a League One side, joined Derby County, your team. How have is that the sort of sign you wanted to make, basically? Is that an addition in not a very busy window that you think does fit this squad? And I think add that extra little bit of quality that's already there, but that extra bit of almost, I think it is that added footballing spice, hopefully to I guess push you over and get you over the line, ultimately, which is promotion at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, just a bit of perspective to this. I mean, at the start of the window, I think a lot of Derby fans were crying for two or three additions. I think we needed a right back and we needed a winger. So in that sense, I guess we haven't been successful. But I think what was really important this window was keeping hold of our key players, particularly people like the likes of Max Bird, Jason Knight, Aaron Cashin, very young players who, if a Premier League side, for example, came in for, we'd very much struggle to keep hold of. But I think when you look at our window, we have made 3 deals. We loaned Tony Springett from Norwich, which did sign that winger that we needed to get that fourth winger to have, a backup for both Barkhuizen and Mendes Lang, and also, competition in the squad. But then we lost both Anang, our second choice goalkeeper on loan from West Ham, who got injured at the start of the season. He got recalled, and the same with Asula being recalled. So we had to react to that. We loaned in Luke McGee from Forest Green, who was first choice up until recently. So I'm surprised they let him go, but I'm very happy with that second choice goalkeeper behind Wildsmith. And then Harvey White, yeah. I mean, Harvey White, to be honest, obviously I rate him very highly. I know he made his debut in the Premier League for Tottenham this season, but I will be honest, it was a reaction to Max Bird's injury that he picked up against West Ham.
Yeah.
We needed a left-footed midfielder. We don't have much midfield cover, and I think what we desperately needed was, if we can't get a right back, Corey Smith's our right back at the moment. He's not played there most of his career, but he's done a great job. But of course, in the event of Bird being injured like he is, if we didn't bring in a midfielder, he would have had to have moved to midfield, and our defence would have been in disarray, really. So I'm pleased we've done that because it fills that gap. I think some fans wanted us to sign a striker because I think they were disappointed. I think they're disappointed with the depth because we've got an ageing front line. We've only got 2 forwards. One of them has been injured half his career, in truth, from McGoldrick and Collins. A lot of Derby fans don't rate, but I certainly rate his effort.
Mm. Yeah, I think going forward then, you sort of spoken really highly on the first half of the season, the window in which you have added quality, maybe not exactly the amount of players that some fans were calling for, but you have added to a squad that, you can't lie, is doing really well and in a really healthy position going into the second half of the season. What do you make of this sort of next chunk of games, and most importantly, the big chunk of games to see through to the end of the campaign? What is that expectation? Is it still to get out of League One first time of asking? Because I think that was the ambition at the start of the season, after, of course, that takeover and the players had started coming through the door. I think there was an understanding that this is not an easy league you can just walk through. There is, of course, a level of quality you have to show through a consistent amount of time. But I think so far you are showing that, and you have got that real mentality to win games, some difficult games where actually, a lot of sides do slip up, especially ones that are maybe a little bit naive coming into this division. What is the second half of the season? What is that ambition around the fan base? And most importantly, Connor, what's your expectation? Do you see Derby County getting through this quite difficult patch that, again, maybe for a promotion push inside could be a challenge, and getting that almighty promotion back to the Championship first time of asking?
Well, I disagree actually that the expectation was to get promoted. I think the expectation was that we might finish in the playoffs, and that was always the aim. I think the aim was always, can we get promoted within 2 or 3 seasons? Paul Warren was given a 4-year contract for a reason. It's not if we don't go up, he gets sacked. Certainly not. This club's been through hard times of late, so it's been, how quick can we turn it around? Obviously, we're delighted where we are. I think at the start of the season, I had us fourth, which was probably quite high up in comparison to some Derby fans. Obviously, we are
That's where you are
currently
now,
fourth.
so yeah.
We are, but we do have a game in hand on Ipswich, who are only 2 points above us. So realistic, if we win the game, we will be third. So it was sort of that third, fourth place. I think really we minimum expectations third, fourth, which sounds high, but with the form we're on, obviously we look like we're on way up. I'd be lying if I said that a lot of our fans don't have auto or even title ambitions. Look, it is 8 points. It's a big gap, sure, but it's a gap you can make up, and certainly with Plymouth and Wednesday still to play, it's a gap that if we win those 6 pointers, there's no reason we can't get promoted or even win the league title. But I think it is ambitious, but I think it's right to look ahead rather than behind us, particularly in the form we're on.
Yeah, so do I.
But in
Anyway,
terms of the
Connor,
immediate upcoming games quickly, we do have two tough away games at Wycombe and
Wickham
Barnsley,
could,
but
yeah.
we also have 4 very favourable home games in the next 6. So with our home record, we will obviously be looking to try and, if possible, still 12 points.
Yeah. I agree. No, I do. I think these difficult away games is what, when you look back at the end of the season and go, right, there were some really, really good and quite difficult games that you got through. And then you look at those home games at Pride Park, the atmosphere there. I think the good record you've had at home this season will get you through those home games. Hopefully that'll be the plan. Anyway, Connor, thank you so much for coming on. First fan calling. You did amazingly well. Really, really good
No
answers. Really
problem.
happy to sort of get that Derby County insight from you. So, yeah, if we do another one, definitely, we will do another one, but definitely, Connor, you'll be on the list. So thank you very much for that and have a
Thank
good
you.
rest of your day.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Yeah.
So I'm joined with James, Shrewsbury Town fan. I imagine quite positive, James. Some really, really good results recently. In fact, I've got it in front of me now. 5 wins on the bounce, 9th in the league. Things are looking good. Things are on the up. James, how are you reflecting now? I imagine with a real sense of positivity.
Yeah, it's good to get 5 wins on the bounce. Maybe not the prettiest wins after we battered Burton and Cambridge. They were good wins, but then a 2-1 to Forest Green, bit dodgy 2 late goals there. And then MK and Oxford probably didn't deserve the 3 points, but we take what we can get.
Yeah, I'll touch on the Oxford game actually because I watched it. So I've got a little bit of this, a little bit of an insight potentially. I was more looking at it from an Oxford point of view, obviously, but I did watch Shrewsbury and who played a big part in that game and won the game ultimately. I thought you had a really, really good sense of patience. I thought you took the chance when it came. I thought you were very, very sensible and played the game very, very well in terms of the game management. I thought was second to none. Is that something that you maybe had to improve on last season, have had to got better and better at, which is now this level of when you win in a game, don't panic, play the game out in a like I say, a really sensible, calm way, and grind out results?
Yeah, I would say so. I say we're not a team that's always on top. I think we're a team that just takes our chances when they come. We don't have 20 shots in a game. We have a 5, but then our strikers have definitely improved, and then we're just being much more clinical this season than last season.
Let's have a little chat then about Shrewsbury generally across the season so far. Like I said, 9th in the league. You sort of had a little bit of a moment around sort of 15th, 16th only a couple of weeks ago, but we speak about how tight this league is. A couple of good results. In your case, 5. You're up to 9th, and in a not an outside chance. I mean, it's sort of outside chance, but you're in a chance. You're in a position where you could push for the top 6. How's that run been? And also, were you always hoping that this sort of click in form could happen, or was that a little bit of a concern there?
It's a bit of both. We had a few injuries at the start of the season, especially having George and Nurse out, probably our only real left wing back, and then having to stick George and Shipley there. Not the best situation to be in, but I've always felt like we would find our way because we had a massive change in team at the start of the season. So I was always hoping that we would get this form. So I'm really delighted that it's come at this point in the season. And hopefully, maybe, since you said we've got an outside chance, hopefully we can improve and get that playoff position.
Is that the aim then? I sort of said this to everyone at the end of this sort of interview with fans. Is that the expectation now? Is that top 6? Is that where all the eyes are set?
I wouldn't probably say it's our expectation, but I would say
an ambition.
It's an ambition. We aren't going for if we get 8th, 9th, 10th, we'll be really happy. Great season for us. Great improvement from the past few seasons, getting 18th, 19th. But then saying that we have the chance to get playoffs, I feel like our ambition is really there to try to get there. And we won't be disappointed if we miss out by a few points, but at least we're up there in the fighting at the moment.
You certainly are. Final question then. What's been the difference between, you mentioned there, I've got the league positions of the last couple of years in front of me, and in fact, I don't have to show them, but I can sort of say them out as well. Last season, 18th. The season before that, like I said there, you're speaking about it, finishing 17th as well. Always hovering around sort of 16th and below. What's been the difference between those last sort of quite disappointing campaigns and this one?
To be honest, I don't really know. I feel like we changed our team a bit too much past few seasons. And then before that, it was just we weren't changing our team enough. And we were just sticking with the same players over and over again and wouldn't rely on our bench at all. And then since we had no one on the bench to bring on, our players were just getting more and more tired. But now, since we brought in more players, we can bring on someone to be that super sub, give us that bit of energy near the end of the game. And yeah, that's how we scraped a few points. If you see from the last few games, a few late goals from substitutes. And that's really helped us being able to bring them on.
I agree. I think you've given us a really good Shrewsbury Town insight there, James. James, thank you very much for coming on, mate. Your first fan calling, I believe. It might not be. I think it is. Is it your first fan calling?
No, I believe I was one at the start of the season.
First one, was it right at the start of the season? I remember we did have a Shrewsbury Town fan, and then we've had a couple since then, and we haven't had one. So it's great to have you back, James. Yeah. And I remember we spoke about quite a lot of positivity around a summer transfer window. I think we are maybe seeing this sort of role continue. James, thank you so much, mate. And we'll speak maybe after a really positive end for Shrewsbury when the campaign comes to a shut. Thank you very much, mate.
Yeah, no worries.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. Right, so I'm joined with Jake, Lincoln City fan. Jake, thank you very much for coming on. And once again, apologies for the timekeeping. It just isn't possible, unfortunately. Well, it is, but I've made it not so possible. I think it's the third time we spoke on the fan callings, which is really, really cool. And you've always sort of given us a bit of an insight into Lincoln City. I remember the last time we spoke, you were in that top 10, and things have maybe fallen. Well, I was going to say, I mean, it's 6 places, isn't it, actually? It is 6 places. I think you were 10th last time. Recently, the last 3 games unbeaten, a win in the last game. Things have sort of been quite mixed. And we spoke about Lincoln City right at the start of the season, or sort of 10 to 15 games. We said, hot and cold, inconsistency, that's the big problem. You gain consistency, you could push up, and who knows where you could go. You almost did that. And then as soon as we started giving you praise, you fell back down again. So Jake, where do you sit now? I know you are 16th in the league, but mentally, as a Lincoln City fan, where are you at?
I don't know, mate. It like you said, it's been a bit of a roller coaster this season. You go from winning at Portman Road and playing well against Ipswich at home and playing really well against the top teams. I think we're unbeaten against the top 3 in all the games we've played against them this season. So then really poor showings against the likes of Accrington a couple of months ago, Exeter, Forest Green, the list goes on. So it's been frustrating, but after Saturday, really impressive performance away at Accrington. I think that was a real statement because that shows that we can beat the teams that we're supposed to beat. And fingers crossed that's what we get going forward. But no, it's definitely been a roller coaster, Jack. One that I've thoroughly enjoyed, but my heart can't really deal with too much more of it, to be honest.
Yeah, also as well, I didn't notice this. I did notice it, but I thought it might have changed because I probably should take more notice of it. You're still unbeaten at home. I mean, how on earth it is crazy. 13 I mean, let's give it a little bit of context. There are 11 draws from 13 at home, but I think unbeaten is what everyone speaks about. You are an invincible side at home, so that sounds good. Is that something that is important to you? Does that show defensively, or especially at your own ground, you are difficult to beat? That feels as though that could be an added bonus in this sort of Lincoln City, Mark Kennedy era. You're sort of now, I mean, you're halfway through. Is that something that you feel is important?
Yeah, I think it's massively important, especially, you think about last year, Jack, and we lost a load of games at home that we shouldn't have lost. We were awful at home last year. I think we were maybe one of the worst teams in the entirety of the division at home. And that was one of the real sort of key performance indicators that Mark had when he took the job. And ultimately, you've seen that teams don't come to Central Bank and can't beat us. Yes, I understand that some supporters are frustrated that we've only drawn. So when we drew to Cambridge, everyone was pretty frustrated. When we drew to Fleetwood and Exeter, people were frustrated. But we weren't losing those games. Last year we would have lost those games. So for me, I've been really impressed with us at home. Obviously, we picked up 2 wins, one against Morecambe, one against Derby. We've been in it at home against the likes of Plymouth. Probably should have beaten them. Sheffield Wednesday could have beaten them as well. So I think he's doing well at home. I think it's important, especially with the backing of the crowd, that we're all on side. It definitely makes Lincoln a difficult place to come. And fingers crossed that next season, that in the window, if we can sign more players who are impacting the team, exactly like Ethan Errahon did on Saturday, then for players of that ilk in a forward area, then there's no reason why some of those draws that we're making at home can't be turned into wins. So, I think he's laying the foundations for next year, where we win a couple more games and perhaps creep up towards the playoff pack, hopefully.
Yeah, going into the second half of the season, then you spoke about laying foundations. Have those foundations been laid enough for you to have a successful second half of the campaign? You speak about Ethan Errahon coming through and coming into his football club in January. Those players have sort of been bedded in, and again, over time, you expect them to get better and better the more games they play going into the next 23 games or so. How do you feel going into that aspect of the season now? Because it's a big season for you in the fact that it's Mark Kennedy's first one. So there is that pressure that he almost has to make some sort of difference on what was quite a disappointing campaign last time out. Of course, he wasn't in charge. This is his first time. Where do you sort of sit going into the second half of the season? Because 16th now, I probably would expect Lincoln to be honest with you, Jake, probably where they are. If I'm being honest, probably around sort of between 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, around that type of area. And you are, at the bottom end of that, but you are in those places. What about you? Did you sort of see that? And how's your expectation at the start of the season now sort of feeling as we go into the run-in of the campaign?
I think my expectation at the start was that any improvement on last year would be a massive bonus. I think if we finish 16th, that's a place higher than where we came last year. So that would be a positive finish for me. But I've seen the way that we've played in this year in moments, and I keep mentioning to the likes of you and Tom and Nappers that we're really good in moments. Like we can genuinely compete with the likes of Ipswich and Wednesday and Argyle in moments. The issue is we don't see those moments enough, which is why we are where we are. I think looking ahead to the rest of the season in terms of where we can potentially finish, I'm backing this based on the last three performances that I've seen. I'd obviously like to mention more that Accrington game where we were completely dominant. And I think that if we can play the way we did against Accrington, against the teams that we should beat, then I think we're going to have a good run towards the end of the season, and you might sort of see Lincoln maybe sneaking into the top half. I mean, that's me being quite ambitious, but Saturday, coming away from Saturday, has really got me in that sort of mood that we've got a player that's replaced Matthew Virtue. He's our own player. We've got options off the bench. So Danny Mandroy, for example, who came over with a big reputation from Shamrock Rovers, he didn't even make it on as a sub. We've got Ben Housefire and we've got Luke Plange on loan from Crystal Palace, who's a really good signing. Olamide Shadipo, Jack, as you well know, is a very handy player at this level as well. So we've got options, and that's what makes me confident in terms of finishing higher up in the league, because Mark can now tactically switch between systems. So we've got the players to now go 3-back, or we can go 4-back, because our players are really versatile. So I'm positive, Jack. I think we can have a really good back end of the season. I don't think there's a reason why we can't finish in the top half.
Would you say that sort of positive finish is a top 5 finish then? Is that sort of where you are?
I think
top 12.
Yeah, I think so. I think top 12 would be good progress.
I'd agree. I would agree as well. I think a positive second half for you, being 16th now, top 12. That's what 4 or 5 places. That's positive.
Yeah, you've got to remember that we've only finished in the top half once in this division, and we've been here 4 years now. So. I think, and
you've got games in hand as well, Jake. You have got games in hand.
Absolutely.
You've got 2 on Port Vale, 2 on Bristol Rovers, 3 on us, and we just can't stop.
Yeah, you're a point above us as well.
We're gonna start tumbling down anyway, so you ain't got to worry about us. We'll see you down at 19th, and then you've got sort of Charlton as well. You've got 1 on them, so you have got games in hand.
Yeah, so it's doable. The issue is that the games in hand are also an opportunity for you to lose ground. I think John Coleman said that. I've been watching John Coleman after we tonked him the other day, and he sort of said that games in hand are, yes, they're great to have, but psychologically they can also be an opportunity. You're going to get beat. So for me, it's interesting. We could, if we win a couple of games, then I'm looking at this week. We've got Bristol Rovers at home on Saturday, who we've beaten already this season. We've got Derby away on Tuesday, who, yes, they're a great side, but we've already beaten this season. Then we've got Pompey next Saturday, who are a little bit indifferent, and I'm not saying we deserve the points, but if we can pick up 7 points from, or 5 points from that 3-game run, then I think we'll be really happy. So, yeah, I don't think there's a reason why we can't finish in the top half. I'm not going to say we're going to be that team that comes from mid-table to search for the playoffs, because I don't think that's us yet. But when Mark Kennedy gets it right, I have the feeling that we're going to be looking up rather than down.
Well, I think you probably are the most positive, which is interesting because we've spoken to a Bolton Wanderers fan, Ipswich, who are 2 in the playoffs. So this is interesting. I think you do have a right to be in that place as well. Derby County was quite positive, but I do see now Lincoln, like you say, sort of getting better and better. Mark Kennedy is also really seeing what he wants from his players, from his system, and then sort of interchange them together. I think the only way is up, really. So Jake, thank you so much. Amazing to have you on. This will be out very, very soon. Definitely go and follow Jake. Amazing podcast. Stacey West, I believe that is still the podcast that we should be promoting with Jake. Yes. Well, more information on that very soon. I'll be the first to break that. Well, I probably won't be, but I'll definitely be one to break that. And sort of point you in the right direction when it comes to Jake's content, because it is top notch. So definitely do subscribe and follow all Lincoln City and Jake. Anyway, right, let's move on. Jake, thank you so much, mate. And we'll speak soon.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Right, so I'm joined by Johan, Charlton Athletic fan. Johan, how you doing, mate? You okay?
Yeah, I'm doing fine.
How do you sort of reflect on Charlton's first half of the season? It's been a little bit up and down. Ben Garner's appointed and started the season as manager, then a little bit of a time with no one, and then now Dean Holden's come in the door. How do you feel now? Very topsy-turvy, very up and down. You're currently exactly where that would sort of reflect you in league table, 12th in the league, exactly mid-table. But recently, 4 wins from the last 5. Positivity, how are you feeling?
At the moment, I feel very good, but in the summer, it started with Thomas Handgaard, owner, not backing Ghana. And it felt very strange not backing him after buying him out of Swindon. The season so far has been shambles. We started really poorly, inconsistency, and Ghana got sacked. The majority was unhappy with that. But
were you unhappy with that? Were you unhappy with Ben Garner leaving?
The majority of Charlton fans were unhappy with Ghana being sacked. And then the whole has come in and stabilized the club. He has brought consistency and 4 out of 5 wins so far, as you said. And I am feeling optimistic again.
I want to touch on that word optimistic because I think that is sort of where all fans are at this point of the season, sort of hoping that a second half can be either rectifying the first half or keep going where you are, or at the pace and speed in a positive sense is where you are anyway. So where do you see Charlton sort of heading now, second half of the season? Like I said, they're exactly mid-table. The ambition and the hope of being in the playoff places, I think it's fair to say, might not be still there, or definitely not the strength that it was when the season kicked off back in September, or before that, actually. It was sort of early in September. Where do you sit now? Where is there still that optimism of maybe pushing towards those playoff places, or is it just now continue? Again, I use the word, I think it's a brilliant word, stabilising. Is it just continue that stabilisation that Dean Holden has brought in when he joined about a month ago now?
I think everyone hopes we can get the 6th place playoffs, but I think most part of the fans, we just want to focus on one game each and take it by game.
Yeah, and I think that's probably what you should do. What have you made of the January transfer window? Because you spoke to me quite a lot. We spoke a little bit over Instagram, and you were sort of keeping me up to date, which I do thank you for that, over the transfer window at Charlton. Brought quite a few players in the club, maybe not as many as you wanted to. Bond came in, Kane came in, but he's been injured. There were some quite early deals. I'm just trying to get every single name up here as well. Matt Penny joined on loan from Ipswich Town. Hector also came in as a centre back. You let quite a few centre backs go. So where do you sit with it after the January transfer window has now closed? Are you happy with the business, or could you have done more?
We should probably done more. We don't have the biggest squad now. We only have. We let Lavelle go, which was very strange because Thomas hasn't played, hasn't come on the pitch for more than 4 games. Macaulay Bonne is a strange one because he was hot-heated in the summer on deadline day when he was about to join us, but it fell through. And a lot of Charlton fans don't think he's there to play for the shirt, but for money. Michael Hector is one I think is a good signing, but the majority of Charlton fans don't like him because he hasn't played football since the summer. Matt Penny, I don't know much about. He started a little bit shaky against Bolton, but then against Exeter, he was very good. Kilkenny is an interesting one.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mention Kilkenny. He's a good midfielder on loan from Bournemouth. Is that right?
Yes, he was brilliant in the Exeter game. Probably man of the match.
You seem a little bit mixed with them then. Sort of that's the final question for you, and sort of linking it to the final question, if you like. You seem a little bit mixed with the transfers, a little bit mixed with the sort of quality of players that have come in, and maybe that's not just you, maybe that's the entire fan base. Is it the same with sort of looking at where you want to finish at the end of the season now? We spoke about the top 6 maybe being everyone's ideal end, but is that, in your eyes, maybe a little bit a step too far? And if it isn't that, where's acceptable for you? Where do you think it's okay to finish for Charlton, considering it has been a very, very up and down first 27 games of the campaign?
I think we should have the aim of top 6, but I think realistically we should be happy with top 12 finish.
That's interesting. Well, that's where you are now. So would you happy for the season to sort of be at a halt now and be finishing with 12th? I probably would say top 10. I don't know about you.
I predicted a sixth, but that's not happening now, I believe. But it's the hope.
Well, it was the hope that kills you, mate. We've all been there. That hope of, and I think the optimism, like you said earlier, that is what does ultimately end in a little bit of frustration for football fans. Anyway, Johan, a pleasure to have you on, mate. Really, really happy to speak to a Charlton fan. And yeah, we'll speak very, very soon. A great interview, a great chat, and hopefully you enjoyed it as well. So I'm joined by Brandon, Bolton Wanderers fan. Brandon, you said before this, and I'm going to, I think, announce, and I'm going to be truthful, ultimately. You said you've done this 5 times, and I'm late, and I have been late for 5 times, pretty much on the trot since doing these fan call-ins. And you are right. I do apologise for that, and I will apologise for that on camera. But it also shows how many times you've done it. 5 times is very, very impressive. Thank you very much for coming on again. Speaking about Bolton, 3 wins on the bounce, still in that top 6, 5th in the league. I spoke to you last time, Brandon. You're a little bit, I guess, umming a little bit about where you sort of see Bolton Wanderers going. So far, so good. Things have got better, you'd say. Going forward, you probably would argue you have been more ruthless. I think defensively throughout the season, you haven't been bad ever, to be honest with you. It just has been the output and being a little bit maybe silly with dropping certain points. But you're still in that top 6, 5th in the league. Brandon, talk to me. How are you feeling? Do you feel as though you are a bit of a happier bunny now we're chatting?
Oh, yeah, a bit. I think since like the new year, we have kind of gone up another gear. I feel like in the last 8 games, I think we've had like 2 poor performances out of the last 8, and we played really well like the other 6. But on the whole, I'm happy because I feel like we've managed to, get some of that form back that we need, like going into what's going to be the end of the season, and I think we've got a big run-in coming, and I think with the fixtures we've got, we need at least 20 points, 20 plus points to consider it successful anyway.
Yeah, I want to speak about that recent form, actually. 3 wins on the bounce. You did lose to Derby County, and we'll touch on that briefly. Is that a game where there is frustration because they are a side you are competing with in those playoff places? Just dropping points there and, most importantly, losing that game sort of fill you with a little bit of doubt, a little bit of concern? Or is it one of those where you go, never really expected to win a game away from home? But maybe you are. I don't know. How did you sort of reflect on that after?
Yeah, a bit of both. I was frustrated because we weren't like... On the day we were poor and Derby were the better team, and it was like back to the old situation of we've still not beat a top 6 team apart from Barnsley, who had 10 men for 80 minutes. So that again was kind of like nagging me. But I don't know. I just feel better about things, and I feel like with the January transfer window, I feel like although we've let players go, we've brought in some really good players, and I think we've got a real good strong to the season coming our way. But I'm not going to whinge too much about the last month because I don't think really it could have gone any better for the position we are in as a club.
Yeah, can we touch on that January transfer window, actually? Because you have brought in some good names, and actually options in key positions that you were weak in. We spoke about strikers, but Varson, I believe, is injured. You let go, is it Bakayoko to Forest Green Rovers? I think that's right.
Yeah.
Cameron Jerome came through the door. Dan Nadulu came through the door. He's a loan from Southampton, but he was at Lincoln City before. Cheltenham. He was at Lincoln City last season. And Adebayo came in from Burton. So you have strengthened there. There are other options as well. Sheffield Wednesday came in from Manchester United on loan. And they're the striking options. They're the attacking options. There were other transfers made. But sort of, was that always the key position? Was that always the area where you had to go, we have to go and bring attackers into this club? Because we did always speak about the final third letting you down. Do you feel as though you did tick those boxes and bring in those players in the areas you feel you were weak in before the window opened?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, if you add all of our strikers together now, I think we've got about 6-7 strikers because I've got obviously Bodvarsson who's injured, but we also have Kachunga as well. So it's like there are options there with Jerome and the experience, and you've got Lundaloo and Adebayo, whatever his name is, physical players. But it's kind of like our luck really, because we brought in all these strikers. All of a sudden, we're getting loads of like defensive injuries. So now it's a case of like we've brought all these attacking players in, and we've lost 2 centre backs due to injury and a wing back. So it kind of feels like the opposite way around now. But yeah, I was very happy with the window. Very happy with the window.
I will also say as well, Brandon Williams came through the door. I don't want to miss that because I know that was quite an exciting player who can play, on that right hand side and left hand side as well.
Yeah, well, do you know what? Honestly, Randall Williams has not impressed me at all.
Really, that's interesting. I brought that up because I wanted to make sure I got that in because I can see the comments now. Bolton Wanderers. I know I was naming your transfers. There are other names, and Randall Williams is one, and one that got spoken about quite a lot when it happened. But yeah, go speak about Randall Williams actually because I'm intrigued to see what you got to say about him.
Yeah, when he signed, I asked Hull fans what they thought of him. And they were saying that he just lacks game time. He's rapid. He's got pace. He just lacks that bit of quality for the Championship. He came to Bolton, and his first 2 games were probably his best games. But to me, it just doesn't. It looks off it. It looks like he does lack that match fitness. But at the same time, it's like I don't know. I feel like he's just a player that he'll do a job, but he won't take us to the next level, if you know what I mean. Like, I feel like we've got like Declan John at left wing back, who's probably better in my opinion. But end of the day, he might come good. You know, I don't know. He could be better than what I'm seeing at the moment. You know, he has joined 2 weeks ago, so there might be more to come from him. So we'll see.
Yeah, he's made 4 appearances in League One, only 1 goal contribution. That was against Portsmouth, and the game since then he has been fairly poor. He played, I think, a Papa John's Trophy game before that, and then his first league game was before that one. So yeah, really only sort of making a contribution in one of those last 4, the only 4 games he's played in a Bolton Wanderers shirt, which is, again, like you say, he's still got time. He's only just come in, and he has got that time maybe to bed in. I think, you're speaking about Hull City fans having their thoughts on him. Maybe it is just match fitness, and maybe it's a few games now on a consistent basis can sort of get the player out of him. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, look into the second half of the season then, because like you say, you've got a really big run in. You said about 20 points you need to get, so that could be a challenge. But what you've seen so far with Bolton is, I think that they are able to do that. Look where they're on the league table. There is a possibility that can come true. And also, you're in a fairly nice position in the league table as well, with a bit of a cushion in those top 6 places. How do you see the second half of the season go? And I'm sort of asking you to get your crystal ball out and maybe predict something you don't quite know the answer to, or no one knows the answer to, really. We can't predict the future. That would make football fans, much easier to live through. But where do you sort of see it go? And is that expectation and ambition from your part still there to get Bolton Wanderers promoted back into the Championship?
It's definitely there more than what it was a month ago. I think, obviously, we've also got the Papa John as well. That semi-final coming up.
Is that a distraction for you? Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, it's a distraction. I don't know, because our squad's big enough to be able to cope with playing in that tournament and the league as well. I would love 2 trips to Wembley. Is it a distraction? If we won the Papa John's Trophy this year and had a trip to Wembley, I wouldn't mind not getting promoted this year.
Really?
Yeah, because
that seems bold.
At Wembley, we have unfinished business. Last time we were at Wembley, we got spanked 5-0. So in my head, personally, I'm probably wrong and on my own, but I would take winning that trophy, having a good day out at Wembley, and then next season building to get automatic promotion. That's my genuine opinion. I'm probably wrong, and most people agree with me, but that's just how my brain works.
I can see. I think the day out at Wembley, I think we've been lucky, to be honest with you, briefly, a couple of years ago at Wembley, and they didn't go our way either. But it's interesting to see that maybe that sort of day out, that trip at the home of English football for sure, is maybe worth, in your eyes, this season, better than a promotion. Interesting. I think that's what I like this fan calling. It does sort of give us a bit of an insight in all areas. Brandon, thank you very much for speaking to me. Absolute pleasure. And like I say, this one will definitely be going out hopefully the end of this week, the start of next week. But Brandon, great insight on Bolton Wanderers. Thank you very much. And we'll speak again very, very soon.
Thank you, man.
Cheers, man. Thank you. So I'm joined by Jacob, Peterborough United fan. Jacob, thank you very much for coming on. Once again, a bit of a veteran when it comes to these fan call-ins. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, not bad.
Let's speak about Peterborough United then. I was just saying quickly to you off camera, we had to sort of double check ourselves. How many times has Ferguson come back after sort of been sacked and then being reappointed? You did have Grant McCann last time we spoke, so a lot has changed. You've now, of course, got Darren Ferguson. How are things now in the third or fourth, like you say, Darren Ferguson era?
Well, I think since Fergie knows the players and the players know him, it's going a lot better. He knows what he wants to do, the players know what he wants to do, and there's a much more positive environment around the club, I guess. So it's definitely going in the right direction at the moment.
You speak about right directions, you speak about sort of aspirations and where you want this sort of Peterborough United team to go. You got relegated last season. We spoke at the start of the campaign about getting back into the Championship. You had quite a good run last time as well. Actually, we did have one that never saw the light of day, actually, but that was one that didn't get posted. But I remember you saying that was quite a poor spell. Grant McCann was keeping hold of his job, but only a couple of weeks ago, probably about a month ago now, he has been sacked and he has been replaced with a familiar face. You are now 7th, just outside the top 6, only 3 points behind Barnsley. No games in hand for you there, but there is a tight gap there. How do you reflect to the first half of the season? Because we're coming up to the halfway point now, just gone past the halfway point, and you're 7th in the league. It is still quite tight. What do you make of the first sort of 20? I mean, it is 27 games of the season so far.
Yeah, it's been an absolute roller coaster for Posh. So at the start of the season we were doing great, and then it went downhill, then it went uphill again, and downhill, and now we're here. So yeah, it's been quite a roller coaster of emotions for us. But now hopefully we can kick on and start going in the right direction more consistently. And yeah, maybe we can push for the playoffs. Right now we've got Bolton on Saturday, which is a massive game. So yeah, hopefully we can keep this up.
You believe you will sort of continue on this run? 3 wins on the bounce, like I say, close with Barnsley, sort of get into those playoff places. Do you believe Darren Ferguson and that group of players is going to sort of continue to get stronger and will bring the results?
Yeah, I think we can. We've got some big games this month. We're playing Bolton. We're playing Plymouth at the end of the month. So hopefully you can get some results from them. And then, yeah, I think we can get into the playoffs maybe. But as for getting promoted, I'm not too sure about that.
It is so tight. We've spoken to a lot of fans already, but we've sort of been speaking about how there are so many sides going for these playoff places, that sides like Peterborough, who you'd expect at the start of the season to be definitely in there, and now things look different. Again, still a very good chance, but it's so close. Okay, final question, Jacob. Going forward then, second half of the season is now just about to, if not has commenced. Where do you see Peterborough United finishing at the end of the season? Are you content with a top 6 finish, or is sort of finishing outside those top 6 places okay after that relegation? Where is it now? Because if I sort of asked you that question at the start of the season, it'd be a very different answer, I imagine.
Yeah, it would be, and I still think we can get the play. I think we can finish 6th, but I would not be surprised if we finish just outside the playoffs. It's quite hard to say at the moment because there's lots of teams with different numbers of game in hand and stuff. So yeah, it's quite hard to say, but I think we can just about get into the playoffs.
Well, I like the positivity, Jacob. I think as a Peterborough United fan right now, you're speaking really well, and I also think as well there is a real chance that the positivity could be rewarded with a nice end to the season. We'll have to wait and see.
Hopefully.
Anyway, Jacob, thank you very much for coming on, mate, and we'll speak very soon.
Yeah, cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. Take care. So we're joined by a familiar voice, Luca, of course, Ipswich Town fan. He's always on the fan call-ins. Luca, is this the 4th time or the 5th time you've been on?
4th. But technically 3rd, because the last one didn't end up getting.
Oh yeah, we didn't. The last one.
Technical issues with that, and
was lost in the world of Discord. Yeah, but this is the 4th time we've chatted here, and this is going to be really fascinating because, and the amazing thing about doing these fan call-ins over a period of time is we get to see how the fans' reactions do change over the season as well. So this is being recorded the 8th of February after the January transfer window, now heading into the second half of the season. Ipswich are currently 3rd in the league on 55 points. Recent form, a little bit hot and cold. 3 draws, a loss and a win in the last 5. And also, I remember last time we had this conversation, you were in that top 2, I believe. I think you might have been 2nd actually. But things have changed, and you're now 3rd, and you are now having a gap of 5 from top spot. And Sheffield Wednesday, who are top of the league, do have a game in hand. You also do have 5 points. You are 5 points adrift from Plymouth as well. So, Luca, how are you feeling? Because things have changed quite dramatically, and you are now 3rd.
Mildly terrified. I've got to lie. The optimism that was starting to creep in at last time we spoke, I think is is very extremely dwindled now. Because if we keep playing the way we're playing at the minute, I can't see anything coming from this season. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, which is interesting because we spoke about, I think, this sort of mentality, professional mentality of just grinding through games, grinding through results, and picking up points of these really in what is a really, really good Ipswich Town squad, and a manager in Kieran McKenna who is young, who's up and coming, but right now is also doing a really good job. But I think this does show how League One is one, ever changing, but also full of quality, because we now do see you third in the league with, like I say, a 5-point gap between yourself, first and second, and Sheffield Wednesday do have a game in hand. Where do you sort of see things then after the January transfer window? Because you did make additions, you spent quite a lot of money really for a League One side. You brought in Nathan Broadhead, you brought in it was the striker from Wigan. It was a loan deal, wasn't it, for George Hurst from Leicester?
Yeah,
But he was at Blackburn before, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
And you also brought in
Harry Clark.
Harry Clark. That's it. He's not on my list here.
And Massimo Longo as well, who's
a free transfer. That was a free transfer, wasn't it, from Middlesbrough?
He's ghosted. He is, to be honest. Don't know where he's gone. Nobody knows.
What do you sort of see now after that window? Because I think you did make additions, like you said there. You did spend quite a bit of money on two players in particular, a free transfer and also a loan as well. What do you sort of make of that window? Do you feel as though you did strengthen the areas in which you felt you needed to strengthen? Because when you're on top, we speak about Plymouth, who also were on top, they strengthened as well. Do you feel you did that to a really, really good level? Because there was expectation, there still is expectation, and in the window, I would say you delivered.
I would as well, to be honest. I mean, Broadhead was brilliant against Morecambe. So was Harry Clark. He was probably the second best player against Cambridge after Christian Walton. Hurst obviously scored a goal a minute after going a goal down yesterday when we played Burnley. And Luongo, I've only seen Luongo once because he popped in and as a substitute against the first game we played against Burnley, and since then I don't really know where he's been, because he's not really been on the bench either.
Right, so that is interesting.
I'm assuming he's injured. That or McKenna thinks there are better players than him in the squad, but now that we're out of cup competitions, I don't know what's going on there.
Would you say there are better players in that squad? Because I think that midfield two of Morsey and Lee Evans has been really strong. Does he get into that too? Because I think I look at that does seem like your strongest midfield partnership. Does he sort of break his way in there? Can he do that?
I mean, Morsey and Evans are obviously our best two. Is he better than Cameron Humphreys, who's going to be replacing Evans? For the foreseeable future, because Evans got injured against Cambridge. I can't see him being injured, breaking in past Humphreys, because Humphreys is absolutely brilliant.
You got Dominic Ball as well. I see there as well. Kamara's out injured, I believe. He was quite.
Ball, I think, is back next month. I think.
Okay. Interesting.
I think
you have got options in there.
Yeah, someone met him at the ground a few weeks ago. He apparently said he'd be back next month. But that's
okay. So
just
there are options in there. But that is interesting.
There are, yeah, definitely.
I think you look back on that window now. You did bring in the players you felt you did need attacking reinforcements. Ladapo was doing really well, but having some. I think players that can not understudy Ladapo, but also compete with him and also play instead of him. There is that sort of fluidity, and also there's versatility there as well, because Broadhead can play on the left hand side, he can play on the right hand side. There is a sort of almost a sense of fluidity across the front three, with aspects of versatility in there as well. Looking into the second half of the season, then, because it's going to be a really busy one. It's going to be quite a decisive one for Ipswich, with that ongoing and constant. Ongston is the sort of is what I've gone with there. Two words merged together. It works. It has the same effect. Where do you sort of see that going then? Because, like I said, there is a gap between yourself first and second. Where are we with Ipswich now going into it? Because, I mean, first and foremost, what I'd say from a purely external perspective is, can we get back on track, and can we end this sort of level of inconsistency in recent results and get back to this sort of winning run that we saw before that? Because if you're going to have to do that, if you're going to keep up the race with Sheffield Wednesday and Plymouth, would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. If we keep playing the way we're playing at the minute, I reckon we won't even finish third by the end. I reckon Derby will overtake us.
Is that your biggest fear, Derby overtaking you?
No, not necessarily. My biggest fear is not going up this season.
And do you not see a top 2 finish now then?
Like I said, if we keep playing the way we're playing at the minute, and I know it's possible that we can play better than we are because we've been playing brilliant. We apparently were playing brilliantly against Burnley yesterday, and we were playing brilliantly against Burnley the first time, and we played brilliantly against what's it called? We were pretty decent against Plymouth the other week. So why we can play good against the good sides and yet can't beat Cambridge away from home?
You should have beaten Oxford if you're gonna.
We should have beaten you.
If you look
the game should have been called off for a start, but let's not go there.
Yeah, no, there were lots of different factors as part of that, but I think you should beat a side like Oxford, who at the moment are in terrible form.
Yeah,
we can't win a football match to save our lives. So that was a perfect opportunity for you to really get through that game and win it. You weren't able to. And that's the one, again, when you look back and go, if only we got through that game and we weren't able to. Anyway, Luca, it's been a pleasure to speak to you. I can tell by your voice, I can tell by the way you are, you're disappointed because things last time we were speaking were much better. They are now maybe falling away a little bit, but I still think we will probably speak before the playoffs. If you do finish the playoffs, I expect you probably will.
We can't see Argyle and Wednesday slipping up. I can't see it.
No, I think it probably will be a top 6 finish. We will speak, I imagine, then, and we can reflect and see where we are at that point. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Luca, thank you very much, mate. And once again, joining the fan call-ins. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. And we'll speak again very, very soon.
Likewise, mate. See you later.
Cheers, Luca. Thank you. Right, so I'm joined by Jack Hancock, Pompey fan. Jack, a lot has been happening at Portsmouth, really. I'm sort of in constant dialogue with Tom from Falling Over It All Over It, and he's almost sort of giving me a lowdown quite on a regular basis of what's going on. I'm fully aware of the John Mousinho thing, though, because he, of course, was part of the Oxford United coaching staff only about 4 weeks ago. So that does feel a little bit close to home. Jack, from your point of view, how's it gone? Let's sort of look at the first half of the season in a more general sense, then we'll sort of deep dive into Mousinho, because that is, of course, it might not be, but it feels like the elephant in the room. How do you reflect on the first 27 games of the season?
I mean, well, it started really well with Danny Cowley, and then kind of we had a few injuries to Tom Lowry and Joe Rafferty, and then he couldn't switch away from the 4-4-2. And it kind of just plummeted. A lot of players, a player, Michael Jacobs, has kind of alluded to the fact Danny Cowley was kind of overcomplicating things and trying to fix the issues. So, and then you got to like December, January, and you're like, this just can't go on anymore.
Yeah, that's interesting, sort of not moving away. Is that down to a manager or a classic case of a manager being stubborn and really, really wanting his system to work? Or do you think it was one of those where it was working so well, why change it?
I think it's probably a mixture of both. Because Danny Cowley, when his plan A is working, it's superb in my opinion. But
brilliant start to the season work with it.
Well, yeah, exactly. And then he tried a few different systems, mainly the 3-4-2-1. But again, it was a midfield 2, and you can't put Marlon Pack in a midfield 2 for a long amount of time because his legs just can't do it. And it was kind of it wasn't quite able to adapt, and he should have gone for a midfield 3 ages ago, in my opinion, but it never quite happened.
So then, John Mousinho, because it only feels right to talk about him. He's had, I describe it as a good start, Jack. I'll be honest, 2 wins, a draw and a loss. And the loss came against Peterborough United away from home. A lot of controversy in that game as well, I've heard. So that is a little bit of a, I don't want to sort of say it's an asterisk next to it because you did lose the game. But there were other circumstances. 2 wins against Exeter, a win against Exeter, 2 wins in total. The other one came against Fleetwood. And then a draw against Barnsley, which is a good point, really. Look where Barnsley are on the league table. How do you reflect on John Mousinho's first 4 games of his reign? Because I'd say, although it's mixed, it's good.
Yeah, I've been really happy with it. I mean, obviously it's not perfect because it's still really early days. And the loss to Peterborough, although it was kind of expected, it wasn't ideal. But, you get to, full time at the Barnsley game and you're disappointed you've only got a point against a really, really decent playoff team. So that kind of shows, the level you've jumped at, where before, at the end of Danny Cowley's era, you go, I'd take a point against someone in mid-table. Whereas now you're disappointed. You've drew against a team like Barnsley.
Right then, let's have a little chat about the January transfer window before we look at the second half of the season. What did you make of it? A little bit. Well, there was an early business, wasn't there? Sort of the first sort of few days. That was Riley Towley coming through the door, but that almost felt like it was one that was going to happen anyway, regardless of the manager. So January felt like a month of can we get a manager through the door, because there's a lot of time with a bit of uncertainty. Late on, I was there when it officially got announced, and Tom was over the moon with it, and I imagine you were as well. But I want to hear your thoughts about it. Paddy Lane, thoughts on that? That feels like a good addition to attacking options.
Yeah, it's been said a few times across different platforms, but with the whole Giovanni Brown saga, it kind of overshadowed just how good of a signing Paddy Lane was.
I agree.
If like 250 grand, it's a bit of a bargain, isn't it? And he didn't play much on Saturday. I think about 20 minutes, but he looked really lively, linked up well with Colby, and I did a thread on it on Twitter. But I'm really happy with that one. It's a really, really smart pickup.
I think you're right, actually. Sort of, there was lots of saga with other players, but actually, £250,000 of Paddy Lane, who I got told by Pepe Lacey, somebody who works in the Portsmouth News, that this was a player that was wanted by Premier League clubs like Brighton for over £2 million. This is somebody who brought in that does really add an attacking reinforcement. A little bit of negativity, or potentially could be none, but this is a question to you. Was there another player that should have come in, or was that enough for you?
Well, I mean, I'd give the window overall about a 7 or an 8 out of 10, because I think we were kind of, if you get that, that Giovanni Brown, that final piece, then you're going, all right, bang, we're into this. But I think, maybe we could have done with, looking back, we could have done with another winger. I mean, back in kind of November, I was looking, can we get, Dylan Mandaka on loan? But if you're good, I'm happy with it. It's Richard Hughes' first window. Each signing has turned out so far to look pretty good. Even Matt Macy came in with a lot of hoo-ha around him, because a lot of fans are writing him off, and he's been really impressive since coming in.
Yeah, I agree, and that's again a classic case of maybe not taking too much of attention of other fans, maybe who've had Matt Macy or other players sort of in the past, and sort of just looking at what he's like in a Portsmouth shirt. And so far, I think he has proved those doubters wrong. Sort of looking forward then to the second half of the season, sort of final point. How are we feeling? Are we positive? Do we feel as though 10th at the moment? Do you realise that this John Mousinho train that seems quite positive can sort of steam through? And where does this where's an acceptable finish, and where's sort of the hope still lying? Is it still a top 6 finish?
I don't want to say, write this season off, but I think it would be a real miracle if we somehow get playoffs. I think Gabe Sutton said it'd be something like we need 42 points. We've still got to play like quite a few members of the current top 6. Ultimately, I think it's more about next season. Between now and the end of now and summer, you're kind of working out who fits the system, who doesn't, who's good enough. And in my eyes, if we finish 8th, I'll kind of go, yeah, all right, it's probably what we deserve, just because of just how bad that kind of middle run of the season was.
Yeah, I think you're sort of having to sort of go through now this end of the Danny Cowley time, which was quite difficult. And like you say, I actually think the start of the John Mousinho era has been really positive, but like you said there, that middle part was really, really damaging. And to still finish 8th, if you do finish 8th or in and around those areas, I think is actually really positive. Not where you want to be. And if I, look where you were at the start of the season and before the season even kicks off, you could have been even higher than that. That's fair to say. But I think considering there was quite a turgid part in between, that would be fairly acceptable. Anyway, Jack, amazing to speak to you. And I think we've had a really good discussion there, a really good insight on Pompey. You seem fairly positive, much more positive now. I imagine if we had this conversation about 3 or 4 weeks ago, a very different one. But I think we are now seeing the John Mousinho effect pull through. Anyway, Jack, thanks for speaking to me, and
cheers,
we'll be out very, very soon.
Thank you.
Cheers, Jack. Thank you. Liam Manning left you when you were in that bottom 4. We are now speaking on the 8th of February and 19th in the league. Do you believe and do you have trust in Jackson that the new signings, that I guess his new system, the way that he's playing, there are improvements there? Do you trust and believe that he will get you well and truly out of this relegation issue and keep you in the league?
Oh, that's a tough one.
It's the $1 million question, Charlie. It's the $1 million question, mate. But I've got to ask you, unfortunately.
I'm going to go with yeah. I mean, I think it's gonna take a lot, especially this month. I think this month we've got a really, really tough run of games.
We've got a relegation 6-pointer, haven't we, on Saturday between me and you? So that's going to be fun.
Yeah, and then so this month, Oxford, Bolton, Sheffield, Ipswich, and Lincoln. So I mean,
wow, I didn't realise how busy that was. That seems tough.
Yeah, that's tough. But then, I mean, after that, aside from Wickham and Derby, really, and Barnsley, it's all sort of lower end of the table.
Yeah, you've got Pompey in there as well. But other than that, yeah, it's like there, Cheltenham, you've still got to play, Fleetwood, Burton, Accrington, Morecambe. These are games that really, when you look at their league position and sort of where you are now, those are almost winnable fixtures.
Yeah.
Do you think, this is again a bit of a $1 million question, but do you think you have, I mean, I guess it's not really. Have you been underwhelmed generally with the season so far? Because I was sort of, speaking to you at the start of the campaign and you were, finishing the season third last year. And again, like clearly by just having a little look at the table, things have dramatically decreased in positivity, in, like you say, all over the shop. Managers changed. Liam Manning looked untouchable at the end of the season. He's now not in work, which is incredible to sort of, I think if you told us that at the start of it, we'd be probably, laugh in your face. But where do you sort of sit with it now? Have you been underwhelmed, and how important is it to sort of put that underwhelmment, if there is it, if it is there, away, and then look now into the second half of the season with a sense of positivity?
I mean, for sure, I've been underwhelmed. 1 point off of an automatic spot down to 19th in the league in February. I think it wouldn't have been as bad if we weren't coming out of such a good season, but stomaching it. And I think to stay optimistic now is really important, because I mean, we're sort of entering a new chapter now with Jackson coming in, new players coming in, and I think it's going to take time, definitely. I think, but if we can survive this season, and we can stick with what we're building, then I think a few years' time we will be in a brilliant position. And I hate saying that, because I mean we've been saying that for years now. It still hasn't got anywhere.
What is that great position? Is it promotion into the Championship?
Yeah, definitely. And then trying to stay there if we can.
Well, I think you've got to have that long-term ambition. I think short-term, and you look at the season so far, like you say there, it is a little bit underwhelming, especially to see and considering where you were last year. But I was always a little bit, when I saw the players come in the summer as well, you were sort of clearly, you let go of Scott Twine, you let go of Harry Darnay, which was, again, a big blow, and that has proven to be quite a, not disaster, almost a disaster, but clearly a big blow. You have replaced them with young players that are going to hopefully get better and better, and when they gel, and when that team is there's a clear structure and a clear position of exactly where these players are going to be playing over a period of time, and there is a level of consistency there, you feel there is a bright future for MK Dons?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially if we can stay up, because I mean, we've got a lot of young players, and I sort of look at them and I think, they can go somewhere. Like some of the Irish lads we signed, Dawson Devoy and Dara Burns. I mean, massive fans of them this season. I mean, Burns hasn't got a lot of options. He's been injured for quite a bit as well. Nathan Holland as well. I mean, he started.
What have you made
really
of Nathan Holland? Because we had him last season, very in and out. But is there a level of consistency? I was going to say inconsistency, but that's what we saw. Is there a level of consistency now, which is a little bit of a opposite of what we saw?
Well, it's been an odd one. I mean, started off the season, I think, incredibly poor. I thought he was really awful. And then sort of after Manning went, he sort of had a bit of a resurgence again under Jackson. And I think he got Player of the Month for December, I think. But now he's picked up an injury that he's just coming back from. Right. So I mean, if he can keep up the level that he has played for the last sort of month or two, then he'll be really big when we come back. I reckon it'll be a massive comeback for us.
So, final question. I know I asked you again, but I want to hear in confidence or not so confidence, yes or no. Are MK Dons staying in League One this season?
Yeah, go on then. Yeah.
I like this, Charlie. I like the confidence, and I think hopefully that confidence can maybe sort of push you over the line. And also, I should say as well, score predictions for Saturday against Oxford United. Are you confident in that one?
Ooh, it's a tough one. It's a really tough game. How's your form?
It shouldn't be. We've lost 4 on the bounce, mate.
Ooh. I'm going to go optimistic. 1-0 Dons. Come on.
1-0 MK Dons, and they're staying in the league. Charlie, I like you, mate. You have really added the positivity around MK Dons. Right then, Charlie, thank you so much, mate, and we'll speak very soon. But a positivity core when it comes to MK Dons. Charlie, pleasure, mate. Speak soon.
Yeah, you too.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. So I'm joined by Liam, Plymouth Argyle fan. Of course, Plymouth now second in the league after that defeat to Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday. Liam, first and foremost, we probably should start with the elephant in the room being losing top spot. How do you feel now losing to Sheffield Wednesday, frustrating, disappointed, and also not just losing that game, but losing that long run at the top of the table? How do you feel after that quite frustrating Saturday afternoon?
I went to the game, very good ground, I've got to say. I think very good from Wednesday, obviously taking all 3 points from us. I don't think we deserved the win against Wednesday. Thought they was a better team. We didn't create much in the game. First half we was poor. Second half we looked a bit better, but we didn't deserve the win. Wednesday taking top spot. I'm not really too worried because I think if they want to win the league, they can do that. As long as we come second, I'm not really worried as long as we get promoted.
Is that the aim for you now then? Is that sort of all eyes on promotion?
All eyes on promotion, yeah. And probably if we can do it, win the Papa John's Trophy as well.
Yeah, we spoke to Brandon actually, who's a Bolton Wanderers fan. He's just thinking about the Papa John's Trophy. I won't say exactly what he said. I'll save that for the episode that comes out and you can sort of hear that for yourself. But I don't know whether or not this will come before that one or not in the video. But I think there is this sort of Papa John's Trophy. And I'm going to use the word, and I want to hear what you've got to say. Is it a distraction? Is it a Papa John's Trophy distraction, or is that another incentive to go on and have a really good season?
I think it's another incentive to go on to have another good season. Really, I just think we're here in the semi-finals now. We want to go and win it. We don't want to go out in the semi-finals because we come all that way. Obviously, Charlton was a favourable home draw, and we're obviously like what you've said in your previous episode in your League One predictions, and that you've said that our home form's very good. We've only lost one at home, so we'd
and won quite a lot as well.
Game.
I mean, I think you've won 13 out of 14. So
yeah, only losing to Port Vale. Fair play to Port Vale, to be fair. But yeah, I see us going into the final, probably against Bolton, in all due respect. Sorry to Accrington fans if you watch us. But yeah, overall, I think we'll get to the final and play Bolton.
What about the injuries that came against Sheffield Wednesday? Because that feels like a big talking point. Michael Cooper, been a very, very good goalkeeper for you, exception, I'd say. Dan Scarr also, I believe, came off injured. I think there is an update on Cooper that it is a serious long-term one. Is that going to impact the season? Because like you say now, looking ahead to the second half of the season, the promotion push, like you say, is well and truly on. Players like Michael Cooper, Dan Scarr, they feel like a big miss. And like I said it in the video, that's a spine of your team. That's a key part of your team that now could be out for a long period of time.
Cooper is out for the whole season.
Yeah.
ACL injury. Dan Scarr is I think he's rumoured to be 4 to 6 weeks.
That feels like that does feel like a frustrating amount of time.
It does, yeah. And if it is
as well.
if Pivotal, yeah, he's one of our best defenders. And losing him against Wednesday was a bit annoying, but I think I can't remember his name, who's our centre back that can fill in for his place. But losing him to 4 to 6 weeks could be a blow. He would come back against, I think, before Derby at home. So
yeah,
if I've
got your fixtures up here. You've had quite a few postponed recently, but you've got some big games coming up. I mean, well, I say big games. You've got us away from home, which does seem like a pretty simple one to get through, but hopefully we'll make it some sort of a test. Portsmouth at home, Fleetwood at home, and we know Fleetwood's away record is good this season. But then you've got Peterborough away, then Charlton at home, then Derby. These are some big games, Liam. These are some big games. I mean, they could be not season defining, but they could be actually, because I'm wary to sort of say this sort of things early on in the season, but I got to remember this is the second half of the season we're talking about now, and these are some sides that, I mean, quite a few of them have aspirations to be pushing up, maybe not as high as you, but get into the race, if not stay in the race of those top 6 places.
Yeah, definitely. Peterborough are the exact same. Peterborough obviously are very good home form, so Wickham are creeping up as well. Derby are creeping up on us.
Charlton are sort of actually not keeping up with you, but Charlton are also sort of trying to edge their way forward as well.
They are, yeah. I personally think Derby and Ipswich are our main threats for promotion. Derby on very, very good form, and obviously they got a game in hand. So yeah, Derby looking very, very good this season.
Yeah, no, I agree. We had Connor on, who's a Derby County fan. He was saying as well, the confidence is so high right now that although there is maybe a little bit of not slowing down the expectation and going too far with it, but being very respectful to the fact that there's some top sides in this league, but they're doing a really good job. Anyway, Liam, just sort of round it off and sort of have the final question come to you. Where do you see Plymouth with your head, not so much your heart? I think your heart is saying you definitely will go up, but with your head on a complete, honest neutral, which is, I understand, very difficult. Where do you think you're going to finish? Is it going to be top spot? Is it going to be second? Or maybe, could it be quite a frustrating finish and only be those top 6 places? Which I say only, that would be quite a good end to the season. But where do you sort of see yourself come May?
I think within a second, I do, because just mainly on the fact that our April running is very good. And we have some very winnable home games. Obviously, I think the crunch one is Derby, 100% going to be Derby, because whoever wins that, I think Derby could be 2 points behind us if they win that, or they do have a game in hand.
Yeah, they do. They have a game in hand. They're currently Derby is 7 points away from you, I believe. Eight points away with the game in hand.
8 points away with game in hand, yeah. So that could be cut to 5. And if they beat us at home, that could be cut to 2.
Yeah, so that's how tight it is.
Yeah. So,
anyway, Liam, thank you very much. Second in the league sounds good.
Yes, it sure does. Hopefully we can stay there, and hopefully I can speak to you near the end of the season and we could be promoted.
Hopefully, mate. Yeah, next time we do these fan call-ins, I might do them before the playoffs, maybe after it, or maybe we sort of do one just before the sort of the real, I guess, run-in, the business end, as people call it. Maybe we'll sort of see where you are then. But if we don't speak until this time on the channel, then yeah, maybe you could be a championship side next time we have a little chat on here. Anyway, Liam, thank you very much, mate. Great to have you on these fan call-ins. It's great to speak to you and get a little bit of a Plymouth Argyle discussion and point of view. Thank you very much, Liam.
No worries. Good luck for the game on Tuesday.
Thank you very much. We're going to need it.
Cheers.
Right, I'm joined by a very happy Sheffield Wednesday fan, Joe, top of the table. In fact, let's just leave it at that. Joe, how are you feeling now, just being top of the tree at this point in the season?
I'm going to be completely honest, taking all the banter from Plymouth and Ipswich fans for half the season, I'd say we've still been the best team in the league, and it's finally paying dividends. And I've got to say, massive credit to Moore. He's the one who's led us here, really. And although there's been some doubts around him, I'm very happy he stayed.
I think there was always that discussion about Darren Moore. We briefly had it on another conversation a couple of weeks ago. I think I did with Tom on a live show about Darren Moore and maybe that uncertainty about, is he the right man to take Sheffield Wednesday up the leagues and get them into the areas that they want to be, which is the Championship ultimately once again, arguably. And I think I should say fairly where they should be in terms of size and stature of the football club. But second season in League One, this isn't a league that you can just walk in and walk out of. Unfortunately, you have got to work and you've got to get to know it. Some teams do it quicker than others. Sheffield Wednesday, 2 seasons in, at this point in the second season, to be top of the table after 28 games on 61 points. Like you say, you have been playing some good stuff as well. Darren Moore, let's just deep dive a little bit on him. How impressed have you been of him? I know you briefly said it there, of how pleased you are that he did stay. How much of his impact has made such a big impact just on a general base across Sheffield Wednesday and the successful 28 games this season that we've experienced so far?
I'm going to be honest, before Moore in the Championship, we went through several managers. We're playing really inconsistently. We're just playing rubbish football. And, it's taken him time. Everyone's got to adjust, but he's really changing the narrative around the football club. Like, we go 1-0 down a year ago, and that's the game in the bag for the other team. But now he's instilled a proper dogginess in the team, and it's really good because I think we could get a result out of any single side in the league, and we would not have done that last season or season before because it's always just been on a nature to bottle. But he's really changing the culture of the club, and it's got to be a massive credit to him for that.
Is it that sort of mentality shift? I think I used that phrase a little bit earlier in the season with Sheffield Wednesday. A mentality shift now that whoever you're up against, there's that sort of determination within the squad to dig deep, have that grit, have that dog in that squad to pull through whoever their opposition. That feels key for me.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's a sign of a side who will get promoted because, if you can even salvage a point against some of our top teams, that's a good result. If you're taking points off them, you're keeping the momentum going, and as long as you're not losing, it does build more positivity around my club. Because after a loss, our fan base can get a bit annoyed. But we really do seem to be, well, just not losing. So
Yeah, you're winning games.
Yeah.
Got 5 wins on the bounce so far in
it's
League One. I think
6.
that 6 now. Sorry, 6. Sorry, I've got the wrong page in there. 6 from 6 when it comes to wins in the last 6, which is very, very impressive. Do you see that stopping, Joe, or do you just see this now just a train of positivity sort of continuing through station by station? I think for me, it doesn't really matter about my opinion, but I know you've got Ipswich next away from home, which will be a challenge, but the confidence is high, the winning run is there. I don't see this train stopping.
Look, there's no easy game in League One. You could beat Ipswich one week and then get held to a draw by Forest Green. I mean, maybe not Forest Green, but the
We've got
point
Morecambe
is,
after that, so
yeah.
There's that.
Well, look, there's going to be a lot of challenges. I mean, we've still got to play Portsmouth away, Peterborough at home, Barnsley away, Bolton at home, and Derby on the final day, as well as Ipswich. But then again, we got revenge on Plymouth. We've beaten Wickham twice, who are really hard to beat. We've got a last-minute winner at Exeter. So really, it's looking good from how we've played previously in the season. Even at the start, like we've probably had a bit of an easier run then, and I think it's helped us out a bit because now that's got us to a good enough position. Well, now that we've seriously got this confidence to go in and win most games that we might not have had right at the start before the squad gelled, I think that's really helped us.
I agree. Right then, Joe, the $1 million question, Sheffield Wednesday. How confident are we going into the second half of the season? Where are we at? Are we top 2? Are we title? The confidence seems really high right now. And I know we've got to be careful we don't look at short-term bias, and there is still a long way to go. But you can have a sort of a good feel of things after the first sort of 28 games of the season. What's the ambition? What's the expectation? And most importantly, what's your prediction? Where do you see Sheffield Wednesday finishing at the end of the season?
I think a lot of people, especially a lot of the older fans, may just getting out of this league. Personally, I think the title's ours. It's in our hands, and I think that's the expectation on the club. And one of the journalists asked Moore, would he take second place at this moment? He said no. He's a winner. He's not been at masses of clubs, but he's got that mentality, and I think when he's set his mind on it, he won't settle for anything above the top spot, and I think we'll go for it.
Well, I think that is something that is now, like you say there, that sort of mentality, that winner mentality that's in him. If that can sort of now be transferred to the players, which I think right now we're seeing, that can only be seen as a massive positive. Anyway, Joe, thank you so much for coming on, mate. I know it's not your first fan calling, so once again, coming on here, great conversation, great chat, great Sheffield Wednesday point of view. Joe, thanks very much for speaking to me, and we'll speak again very, very soon. Maybe with a title or a promotion in the bag for Sheffield Wednesday.
Thanks for having me, mate. See you later.
Cheers, Joe. Take care, mate. Thank you.